Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Magic with your favorite epigenetic geeks, my dear friend and esteemed colleague, Kenneth Close, and myself, Lori Falk. We're thrilled to be here with you this evening as we talk about living in rhythm, the cadence of a long, vibrant life. What if the secret of longevity isn't just what you eat, but who you eat it with? So, with that in mind, with that question in mind, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of community and talk a little bit about the blue zones and just do our normal epigenetic thing, but more around these specific topics. And community, I think, has become so important over the last number of years. If COVID didn't teach us anything, it certainly taught us the importance of community and of not being alone. Like that whole anybody who was single and went through that, thank God for our pets, because I think we would have gone insane otherwise. But just not having that human connection is it's let's just say it's not the most healing thing on the planet. And we're going to give you a whole bunch of examples about why that might be this evening.
100%. The once upon a time we lived in smaller, more intimate communities, right? Just go back to indigenous tribes and the way that humans existed in smaller groups. And there's still that going on today. There are some of those untainted indigenous tribes that still operate within the traditions that they had created and over generations of time continue to cultivate. But we also industrialized and we got bigger and bigger and bigger communities. And that wasn't necessarily good in terms of individual smaller banks of groups. And then, of course, we diversified into, say, neighborhoods, right? Still within a bigger community. Maybe we have the states and the cities and the provinces, and then we have our neighborhoods and then our households and our families. But today, how many of you have been maybe at a restaurant or a public venue or even a park, and you've got some folks sitting around and they're like this, three or four of them, and they're like this, and they're not even talking to each other. I see this all the time. I'm at the restaurant and I'm looking around and I was like, we can actually eat our meals. And Lori, you were just talking about this with Dixie. We can eat our meals while we're on a Zoom call in the middle of whatever environment we're in and still kind of be isolated, right? Not necessarily connected. And this is a piece that we really have to talk about tonight when it comes to when Lori's talking about community. You can live in a big family in a home. You can live in a big neighborhood with lots of movement. You can live in a big city or in a small tribe. But if you're disconnected emotionally, there's a big problem with how your body responds to every nutrient or raw material you put in your mouth, and specifically how your gut biome responds to that. Right, and we're going to cover some of that tonight as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was, how long ago was it that they did that study? National Geographic actually funded a study that Dan Buettner and his research team conducted. And that's how we got the 5 original blue zones. He went and he studied all these cultures around the world. And what he was looking for were cultures where people were the healthiest and cultures where people were living the longest. And they came up with their top 5. And the top 5, I'm just going to read it off: Okinawa, Japan; Sardinia, Italy; Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica; Icaria in Greece; and Loma Linda in California. Ken and I are still shaking our heads on that one.
That Loma Linda, California, I'm like, really? Maybe they just had to find something in the U.S., but but the research was kind of clear. So if you guys aren't familiar with Dan Buettner, he wrote the book Blue Zones, right? So look it up. Blue Zones is a phenomenal book. It goes through the what he discovered as the recipe, the ingredients, special ingredients for people that had, or the demographics that had the largest number of centenarians, people living in the triple digits. And there was a formula for that. There was some like 9 specific um components to that, right, Lori?
Yep. Yes. 9 components. Pretty simple stuff, but important to note. Natural movement. So not just going to the gym
Mm.
and working out on the machines, but moving in your life. I mean, I got to tell you, I moved earlier this year and I dropped 5 pounds, changing nothing other than the amount of time that I was moving, because I wasn't sitting in front of a desk. I wasn't on Zoom. I wasn't looking at my computer. I was packing. I was unpacking. I was cleaning. I was moving boxes. Just that extra physical activity that I wouldn't get on a normal daily basis. 5 pounds gone. Love it. I got to keep moving.
That well, and Laura, you said something key there too. I want you guys to pay attention to when she said natural movements, naturally moving. Now, not like a gym. So, what do you do when you go to a gym? And let's say you did 5 miles on a treadmill. Awesome, great, right? Or you lifted weights, dumbbells, cable machines, selectorized systems, whatever. But that's not, I mean, it might be a natural flow of a movement, but it's not natural movement. Natural movement is like you're out there bucking hay, right? You're moving boxes, right? You're trekking up and down stairs. You're walking from point A to point B. And we have to understand what a bigger component of natural movement is your perception. So what you see, what you smell, and what you hear, this perceptive information adds to the biological fatigue of the body. So here's an example. A study was done um, back in the mid 90s. A company called Precor designed, well, they didn't design it. A designer created this invention called the elliptical trainer. They call it the EFX. And they took in this particular machine was going to replace the treadmill. So the EFX or elliptical trainer, you stood on a couple of essentially pedals, and they moved in an ellipse, not a circle, but an ellipse, an off-shaped circle, which is natural to the movement of the knee in relation to the hip. Okay, and people were getting on it, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can go on this for an hour. I couldn't last 20 minutes on the treadmill, but I can go for an hour." And it was because on a treadmill, you have what we call impact fatigue. When you're launching off your step in midair part of your stride and then landing, that impact is called impact fatigue. And so that impact sends a shock wave all the way up to your body. Your muscles naturally contract to absorb that impact, and it adds to the task of what you're doing. Now that's another level of fatigue. So when you remove that level of fatigue, you can go further because just the muscular involvement in that ellipse, still desiring for cardiovascular materials, oxygen, blood flow, that kind of thing. But yet all of that is done in a stationary position in the world. You're not like getting from point A to point B. You're not walking in a neighborhood, right? You're not covering distance from one end of your house to the other end of your house. So that perceptive added fatigue to the body, as well as accomplishment within the mind, is not the same ratio. So it's important to understand natural exercise, natural movement outside in the world, achieving a task, a goal, something you've put on the table as a desired state, right? I want to, like Lori, I want to move from this place to this place. Okay. All of the content around what she did to make that happen added to natural movement, and her body responded much faster and in a stronger way than if it was just walking on a treadmill. Right?
100%. 100%.
Big difference, right? Do you guys follow along with that concept? We have a perceptive fatigue as well as a biological fatigue, and our perceptions play a big part in that. Now, here's the underlying part of that. We're going to get into this later, but this is where it ties in. That other part of the perceptive fatigue is our autonomic nervous system, our senses, what we see, taste, touch, and smell, and we're moving through our world. It's signaling information into the autonomic nervous system. which handshakes with the enteric nervous system, which is our gut biome. So the gut biome produces very specific hormones, because when you feel like you accomplish something, what is that? Dopamine, right? That's a neurotransmitter produced where?
In the gut.
In the gut. And so that increased perceptive activity gives more signaling to produce that feeling of accomplishment. And now our guts work, it's actually asking our gut to work better as well. Does that make sense?
It sure does. It sure
Oh,
does. So, I mean, final word on that, you don't have the overstrain that you have from exercise. Overstrain can be counterproductive. So just move your body more. Second thing is a plant forward diet. That doesn't mean fully vegetarian. It just means a diet rich in vegetables, beans, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Meat's okay sometimes, but not as a primary, like put more veggies on your plate than meat.
yeah, we call that the plant slant. The plant slant. It's slanted towards plants, right? It's not all the way over there. Just kind of like that leaning tower of Pisa. We're just leaning over there towards the plants. Just a little bit, right?
Right.
Don't go crazy.
Right.
Just a little bit.
And go with seasonal. Go with what you can actually get in the produce department. I mean, yes, we have frozen vegetables, but you tell me how many of you really like those frozen veggies as much as you like the fresh ones? They taste like something entirely different.
Well, think about this too. Lori said something very significant there, that is seasonal, because they are going to be the most fresh for your demographic. If you can get them in your demographic, here's the thing that we're not considering. Yeah, the grocery store might have tomatoes year round. Where'd they come from? Right? They were picked before they were ripened. They were transported maybe thousands of miles. They were treated probably with things to keep bugs and mold off them, and then they wound up on the shelf in your store. Okay, but when you're visiting your farmer's market, right? It came from the market, the farmer's land, to the market, probably, and it was that day. It wasn't like a month ago. The farmer's market wasn't there a month ago. It was just, these are usually weekend things, right? So you take advantage of those. Those are super huge. And if it doesn't grow in your neighborhood or your demographic, it's imported. Simple as that, right? It doesn't mean that you don't eat that kind of stuff if you're looking for the nutrient content in such. But what's the sources? What's the source that you're getting it from? We're another layer. Okay, in the epigenetic world, we look at genetic signaling. We look at signaling. It's all about the signal. And when we can't discount how a fruit or vegetable is grown, today they're growing in things that are not even dirt. It's not even earth. It's not even soil. And so what comes from the soil? What raw material that's missing when you are growing synthetically is bacteria. There is an entire ecosystem in the soil of our planet on purpose, so that it can then be uptake by the plant. The plant's the vessel to take this content and then imprint genetic coding from bacteria. Folks, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into religious content, but it doesn't matter a belief structure, whether it is from Adam and Eve or evolution. However you believe that we've evolved to this moment, the beginning of where the belief structure is and to the point you are now. I don't care if it's the wiggly worm after the Big Bang and that bacteria, single cell organism, or Adam and Eve. From them to now, there has been a genetic mutation, and where it has taken place, and it's the most biological dysfunction in us, is the bacteria of our gut. That bacteria has genetically morphed to this moment and today. And science is now starting to trace back many of the mental health conditions, the allergies, even some of the autistic characteristics to morphed bacterial influence. And I want to paint a little picture for you. as epigenetic geeks, we look back to the genetic codes, the signaling. And you've heard me say this before, 800,000 cells per second are being created in your body. Okay. And there's a genetic code for every single one of them. Very precise, very specific, very, very, very exact. And only 3% of that exact code says it's going to be a skin cell, muscle cell, bone cell. Only 3% is fixed in that determination. The other 97% is an adaptive gene reading the environment to make sure that the cell that it's writing to becomes a version that fits the environment that you live in. Again, back to the point of when you eat fruits and vegetables from your environment, it's genetically coded to suit you, right? And that code comes from the bacterial influence of the earth, the soil, built into the uptake of the plant, all the way into the fruit that you're consuming or the vegetable you're consuming. And then the gut biome recognizes that. The problem is that has mutated. And the genetic code to every one of those 800,000 cells per second, there's a memo, an RNA, a raw material for building that code. You know where that comes from? The gut. The resources for the RNA signaling for genetic outcomes comes from the bacteria within our gut, which is what we call the enteric nervous system, the ENT. It's its own little organism, its own community. And we talked about community and how important that is. It is starting to change within us because of the influence of mass production, pesticides, even fake dirt. All of these things are mutating, and we as a body are seeing the strain of that. And where we can find it most evident, just go to zoom out, like Tony was saying, I'm zoomed out. Okay, zoom out in a different way. Go to 10,000 feet and look at the landscape of this planet and what are some of the highest widespread diseases, disorders, and conditions in these bodies. And they originate from the gut. They all originate from inflammation, which is again traced all the way back to the disease itself. And that origination is from this morphing of our gut biome. And you guys might have all seen or heard some ending of the world kind of things, and this big catastrophe and apocalyptic thing that's going on. But it's actually more like a slow genetic mutation into the inability to do what we naturally do as a species, and that is to reproduce. Because even the ability to do so comes from RNA or genetic codes that write into this body's ability to build out and reproduce. So if that starts to get shut down, where do we go? So anyway, we'll talk more about that. I just want to make sure understanding of this, this plant slant, we're going towards the plants.
Plant slant.
The plant slant, we're slanting over there, everybody. Where are you getting your stuff, right? Get it locally, get it fresh, and get it in there.
And number 3, eat in moderation. That was another thing that they saw in most of these blue zones. Eat until you're about 80% full, because if you wait until you're full, 10 or 15 minutes later, you're going to feel stuffed and overfull. So you got to be very mindful when you're eating. How is my stomach feeling? Am I feeling like I need much more? Am I starting to feel, the minute you're starting to feel a little full, stop. Just stop. It's going to be easier for your body to digest. It's, going to help with weight control. And another thing to consider, and I know it's not it's backwards in this country, but often in these blue zones, the biggest meal of the day is midday. And then they eat lighter in the evening. And not part of our society here, but it's something you have control over.
There's what Lori's talking about here is very significant. Eat to the 80% full. And there's a biological purpose for that. And reason for that is because the hunger hormone is called ghrelin. If it's a hormone, right? And when ghrelin starts to get stimulated, it's because the brain is saying, hey, I'm out of raw materials. Do you know what the brain's raw material is? Your brain is a mineral engine. Minerals. Where do minerals come from? They come from the earth, built up into the plant, uptake through fruits and vegetables. That's where minerals are coming from, right? They're in our earth. So, but we can't just go out and eat dirt. I mean, it doesn't quite digest very well. It's kind of crunchy. It also gets stuck in your teeth really bad, but I don't recommend eating dirt. You definitely want to use the way that nature provided that transition. But that hunger hormone is because the brain is needing something. And then you start eating, and there is a moment in which you create what's called satiation. Satiation is when the brain is starting to receive signals from the gut. Who's in there doing it? Those cool little wiggly things, right? The bacteria, and that enteric nervous system is communicating with your autonomic nervous system and is giving information even before the food is digested, right? This information. And now it starts to produce, the brain starts to produce another hormone, which is the opposite. It's called leptin. It's the satiated hormone. And no, you can't just take leptin and say I'm full and not eat. It doesn't work that way because it won't survive the gut. But that process is a very intelligent process, and it takes a while though. So if you're sitting there just wolfing down your food, right? And it takes about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes for that hormone leptin to start to tell the brain you're full. You can overdo it very quickly, very easy. So this is why the next part of what Laura's going to talk about, when you're going to 80% full, the way you do that is again is another one of our things on the list here. So go ahead.
Being aware. It's mindful eating, you could call it.
Yeah.
And having a strong social connection and purpose, strong family ties, close friendships. Again, what we started with earlier, it's not so much only what you're eating, but who you're eating with. And if you're having dinner with a group of colleagues, if you're having dinner with family members, if you're having dinner with even one other person, if you're not doing what Ken was saying earlier, which is playing with the silly phones, right? Then you're talking to each other. And if you're talking to each other, then you're actually going to be eating slower. You're not going to be as focused on the food itself. And you're going to have a sense of belonging, which will reduce your stress, which will eliminate the need to calm the stress with more food.
The slower you eat, you chew each bite and you have maybe a couple of words, because how many people, I mean, it's kind of rude to have food coming out of your mouth when you're talking, right? So you chew your food, and then you pause and you have a comment or two, right? You get the conversation going, and continue, so on and so on. And there was this incredible philosophy, this carpenter way back when, it said that, if you sit and prayer and meditation in my mind are the same thing. If you sit and give gratitude for the meal you're about to have, right? Perhaps you just came flying in the door, slapped some food on the oven, tossed it on the table, and started wolfing it down. That's not mindful eating. So let's just say you did come flying in the door, cook up a meal, toss it on the table, and then you sat down and paused, right? You paused. You pray, you give thanks for the meal, you find gratitude in your heart, you collaborate with whoever's with you, even if you're by yourself. Taking this moment to pause, it only takes about 30 seconds, right? When you're doing it mindfully, breathing, relaxing, finding gratitude for what you're about to consume. And then you start to consume the food. And if you've got company there to converse with, great. If you don't, take a moment. Take a moment. I typically will kind of eat in sections on my plate. And when I move from one section to another, I kind of think about that vegetable. I mean, I think about that piece of that content on my plate, and I don't know, just have a little ponderance moment as to where it came from and how grateful I am that it's actually right here in front of me. all of that gives your body time to intake the content, give signaling to your brain to start saying, yep, almost there, almost there, almost there. And then I'm there. Right. And then stop. And then stop. Now, when I was growing up in my house, there was five of us. And sometimes when you got a litter of puppies and everybody's trying to get in there to get the milk, right? You if you're not quick and aggressive, you don't get nothing, right? But in my house, we were like, here's the portion you got. And there's no seconds. So it's like, okay, I'm eating everything I got. But that does something too. It also starts to build a mental imprint about finishing what's on your plate. Again, that's not necessarily a very useful built-in program, because what if you got too much on your plate and you all of a sudden get to that 80%, right? You need to know how to be able to say, I'm done. I'm done, right? Listen to the body. Let it be your marker, not what's on your plate.
What I do is I just put, even if it's just a little bit, I just put it in a little glass container. And then if I need a snack or something, oh, look at that. I have a nice little snack. So
100%. And be grateful for that, right?
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I didn't have to make anything. It's already made. How lovely is that? Another thing when we're talking about strong social connections, Ken, is getting back to the movement piece. I just joined a health club last week. Oh my God, like somebody told me Lifetime Fitness is like a country club, and I'm thinking, right. I walked in there and I was like, it is a country club. And they have these all over the country. I believe it's a franchise. And so yes, you can go and lift weights. And yes, you can play pickleball and basketball and all these different things. And there's yoga classes and there's spin classes and there's Zumba classes. But what is that? That's social connections. You're going to go take a Zumba class. You're going to go take a yoga class. You're doing it with other people. It's group fitness. And this same fancy country club that I am now a member of, oh my gosh, actually has social events because they really want people to connect. And for people who are of a certain age who might be on Medicare, or it might even be for people 50 above. I can't remember, but they have special, like Tuesday morning at 9:30 is like a coffee clutch, and then once a month they do a paint night. Well, guess who got excited about that? Paint night. I'm like, I teach painting classes. They're like, well, come teach one. So socializing, I mean, a really high-end fitness club like that is more about the social part of it, or it's as much about the social part as it is about the physical part and connecting the two. So it's creating that blue zone effect right where you are. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here with all of you tonight. We told you where the top 5 blue zone places are, but we're not asking you to move. We're asking you to think about taking those same principles and integrating them into your daily lives so that your stress goes down, so that you're feeling more balanced, so that you're feeling more on purpose, which brings us to number 5, a sense of purpose. A sense of purpose. Like if you wake up every day, I have a number of friends who are retired and they're so bored. I mean, and I just look at them and I go, do you know that you have a golden opportunity, that you can learn anything on the planet? You live in a time where you have access to so much information. You could really be growing and expanding. I mean, I'm blown away. But they are just, oh, well, they're bored. Well, don't be bored. Find a sense of purpose. Hire a coach. Okay, I didn't say that because I'm a coach. I would say that to any single person on the planet. Everybody needs a coach. Every single person needs a coach, myself included. The best times I've ever had in my life are the times that I was working with a coach. Because even if you do it only once a month at a certain point, you have that touchstone, that person who's guiding you and helping you and keeping you on track. You don't have to do it alone. You really don't.
And there's another, so again, hiring a coach, the other side of that. So one of the things that we always try to give you guys is things that really don't cost money, like this, creating this blue zone idea. like where I said, you don't have to go move to Greece, which that might be cool, but you don't have to do that. However, these things don't have to cost you a ton of money. So just thinking about what the pieces we're putting in play, they're simple principles. Okay. So is coaching. How many of you guys have just followed a mentor, or you love an author that's always giving content that's moving your life further and further and pushing you in some way, pushing you, guiding you, and getting you to the next level? Now, if you just, I mean, I read a ton of books. Every single book I've ever, I don't read love stories. Sorry, I don't read, um, murder mysteries. I read things that are filled with content. Things that like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and some greats. I even read the books around Einstein and some of the great things around scientists, because they're stories, right? They're stories, but they're also very educational. So to me, they're entertaining. But find a mentor. Find a mentor who out there has a lifestyle that you would like to have, and just follow them. How did they get there? What were the steps? Right? That costs you nothing. In today's social media and the ability to go anywhere on the planet with this thing, come on, there's really no reason why you can't do it, right? Or even if you've got the internet, the Wi-Fi, you've got the ability to go somewhere, find a mentor, and start changing your life.
Absolutely. And you'll be some of the first to hear about this because this is kind of brand new, but I have just accepted a position as Chief Consciousness Officer for a business called Find Your Mentor. And we intend to be the largest online platform of wisdom. And as a finder, you can join for free. And there is going to be a whole academy filled with oodles and oodles and oodles of information and strategies and videos and all kinds of amazing material. I mean, the people who are putting this together are, let's just say, they took my breath away. When I met them all, I was like, wow. So stay tuned. That should be public launching in September. So you're amongst the first who've ever heard about this.
And see what I just say about mentors. Now this is again, find your what?
Mentor.
Your mentor, right? So I mean, everything is synergistic. We try to bring you content and information that builds upon the next. Speaking of building upon the next, number 6.
Number 6, daily stress relief rituals. And in the blue zones, they take naps. And I shouldn't laugh, but we're probably in our society a little bit more apt to do meditation or yoga or some breath work than to actually go lay down in the middle of the day and take a siesta. So, not that it's a bad thing, but it fits in their culture a little bit more than some of the other options.
And another word for that could be just downshifting, right? Just downshift. Just bring it down a notch. Where are you in your, I don't know, your state? And if that state is in some stress response, just can you bring it down one notch? Breathing does a great job of that. Just take your shoes off, put your feet in the grass in nature, and sit in the park somewhere. Stare at the tree. Listen to the birds. Just downshift, right? Just a little. Taking a nap, yeah, nothing wrong with that. In at Core Effect, within the healing center, I have various stations that I put people through, these small 20 minutes, 15-minute sessions that moves them into both mind and body into that parasympathetic state. And it's interesting. Every single person says to some degree, I feel so relaxed. Perfect. Because that's the reason that you're here, is to find that level of relaxation, downshift from whatever you were. Just people wander through their life in this stress response and they don't even know to what degree. I measure that. in the clinic at the center, I measure that. I use a Russian technology to measure someone's autonomic nervous system and gives me a very precise 11 panel outcome as to what their nervous system is doing and how it's regulating and functioning with the brain body connection. And I'm telling you, I've had this system all over the world, right? Because I have a mobile version to be able to take anywhere on the planet. And the interesting part about that is people have normalized such high levels of stress, they don't even know. They don't even know what level of stress they're in. I asked them, well, what do you think your stress level is? Oh, it's probably kind of high, but it's okay. I can handle it. Trust me, folks, to say I can handle a high level of stress is not a badge of honor.
No.
Your body is an objective observer. It doesn't care what your psychology can handle. That's not your body. Your psychology is the way your brain is used by your mind. That is not necessarily your body. Your brain is your body. But when you say I can handle large amounts of stress, it's not bragging rights there, folks, because the body is not healing. I guarantee you. And like I said, when folks walk out of the center, they say, I feel so relaxed. In fact, I hear them say these words, I feel tired. Perfect. Because when we feel in our minds tired, it's variable, it's a perception, right? You could be just worn out. The muscles are so weak because you just worked your butt off, right? And that kind of tired is different than a mental tired, which is also different than the body's signaling you to slow down and rest. That tired is from the parasympathetic nervous system. You're already there. You're already there. You're tired and relaxed, and you could rest and repair. Right? That feeling, you know what I mean? When you can just go, ah, I can just exhale. Okay. So that's a big piece of that daily stress relief.
It is. And I'm just going to give a Quora effect plug here. Those 20-minute meditations that Ken's talking about are part of the brain tap modality. It's a headset and a visor, and you're getting sound therapy and light therapy at the same time. And I want to tell you, it 10x's your meditations. That really does. I can't imagine meditating anymore without it. And I'm so grateful that I have it. And, we can send you a link for that too, right, Ken?
Oh yeah. The brain tap technology, it uses essentially there's about 5 different modalities it uses simultaneously. So in the headphones, now these are the parts that you listen through, there are lights in there. Like, why would you put lights into your ear? That's not your eyeballs, right? No, it's not. However, your ear has a portal to every vagus nerve in your body. Your ear, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, right? Acupressure, there are ports in the ear that we can tap into. Well, so this light speaks to those ports. And so that's why it's in the headphones. The goggles that Lori mentioned, there's goggles that come down that your eyes are closed, but the optic nerve is still collecting information through the eyelid. And so there's the lights oscillate, they flash, they move in frequency and amplitude. They do things to the tune of the sounds that are going into your ear. And what sounds are going into your ear? So there's 3 systems so far. The 4th system is left-right hemisphere oscillations. Sometimes it's done through dual voice. There's a voice in the left ear, a voice in the right ear, and they're talking about 2 different things. And you're
At the same time.
At the same time, you're trying to focus in and hone in on one or the other, and that's on purpose to get the differentiation between left hemisphere and right hemisphere and settle in on a frequency in the middle. So binary tones is another one. It's another sound that comes through. Not to mention the music that's moving you into a state. Birds chirping, natural sounds from bubbling brooks, things like that. All that stuff triggers the brain to create imagery or to create remembrance from whatever the sounds are stimulating. No different than the sound that was your favorite sound that you and your high school mate, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And now you hear it today, and it's either that was relationship was awesome. It's a good experience. If that relationship sucked, you're right, like, I don't want to hear this song, shut it off, right? It's still triggering memories in your brain. So brain tap does that. It also uses what's called an SMR, or sensory motor response, to down regulate the body's tension, just through sound, down regulating the body's tension and building and promoting relaxation. So, there's everything from like 5 minute all the way up to hour-long meditations and sessions. And it's app driven for very specific purposes, over 3,000 different programs, series of programs to train your brain. The whole reason for this, folks, is to teach your brain. We have taught our brain specific algorithms to perform in ways that aren't serving us, but yet we still do it, right? It's a habitual piece. It's what we call neural networks, or default neural networks. They're built in. So you get stuck in this rut, right? In this rhythm. And it's like, I want to change, but I can't. I want to lose weight, but I can't. I want a better health, but I can't. It's something always getting in my way. So again, this is how we train the brain to get all that out of the way. Super powerful tool, by the way.
Super powerful. And it enables you to have part of Quora effect in your own home. That's the part I love the best.
Part of the core effect in your
Oh,
hands.
Absolutely. All right. Number 7, moderate alcohol consumption. So they're not telling you not to drink. They're saying it can be a wonderful social tool, especially with meals.
Mhm.
And red wine in particular, for your heart. It's healthy.
Best, best.
Social drinking. They're not saying going out and having martinis. This isn't Sex in the City we're talking about. We're talking about blue zones. But
Yes. So that moderation, those things in moderation, um, it's not terrible. People in these cultures that Lori said earlier, in those demographics, yeah, there's kind of a ritual. But again, it's not done. You're not in a corner drinking by yourself. No, it's a community. It's a ritual. It's part of another thing, not all by itself.
yes, absolutely. That's the key, not by itself. And number 8, a supportive environment. A supportive environment. Walkable towns. A lot of these blue zones, you can walk everywhere.
Yeah. It was a big deal. I read the book, and he talked about the location in Italy, and it's like there was like these regular community gatherings, and it was in a kind of a central location within the community, and everybody walked there. Everybody walked there together. They would come as a family or as a group or whatever, and they all walked there. And so building that out in your demographic, what's that look like? What's it look like? And maybe you look around and go, well, I live on a cliff. I can't walk anywhere. That's probably not true, but just say that, you've got some things in your home. I mean, then places that you can go around in your yard. And this summer, I'm just in the midst of completing this big awning I built off the back of the house, and I created a little sanctuary. I did all the construction. The family all got busy on the painting. We've decorated it, but I built the ambiance, special lighting, special plants. There's I did some special roofing to keep the temperature at a certain deal, even though it might be 100 degrees outside, but it's probably 20 degrees cooler in this area. I built that, and it's really large, and yet so you have to walk out there and walk back in, and there's some natural movement I'm doing. I'm in nature as well. So build it. If you build it, you should go, right? If you build it, they will come, right?
Absolutely. If you build it, they will come. And you're building it and they're coming.
That's
So
right.
I mean, just think about urban planning. A lot of these new developments have commercial on the first level and residential above that. And I got really blessed. I moved into an area that a half mile from my house, I walk over there and I'm in one of these urban developments, and there's restaurants and there's shops and, coffee shops, and there's just places where there's some social interaction. Now, I don't know how it's going to be in December when it's like, 10 degrees outside, but right now in the summer, I'm enjoying it immensely. So, and number 9, last but not least, faith or a spiritual practice. And that can be, doesn't again, it doesn't have to be straight ahead religion. We can be talking about mindfulness retreats. We can talk about, just being connected to like-minded communities, just having belief in a higher power, having belief in your higher self, having the beliefs wherever they are. But really, again, finding communities that are like-minded, that have those similar beliefs.
So let's think about that for a second. Mindful or spiritual. We talked about mindful eating before. You sit and you find gratitude for the meal. So a spiritual practice, one of the highest frequencies that we can generate, every emotion has a frequency, but one of the highest frequencies we can generate with emotion, within the emotion bandwidth, is love, right? There's one frequency higher than that. You know what that is? Authenticity. Authenticity, because to be authentic in you is a direct descendant of whatever your higher self belief is, whether it's God, source, infinite intelligence, whatever it is. Your connection to that and your servitude to that, you are an imprint of that source. You're the offspring, the imprint of that source. Even if it's like you believe in the quantum field and the quantum science, perfect, that's okay, because there is a blueprint for you in the quantum field that is perfect. And it's not until, and Einstein said this, it requires an observer to solidify waveform into particle. Okay, so the same principle. It requires, from the quantum blueprint of perfection, a consciousness, aka mind, to have belief structures, ideas, assign meanings, to solidify all possibilities into material form, aka body. Okay, so that there's a practice in which you get back to your spiritual self, your higher self, and see yourself in this perfect form in some way. And typically we do that by removing the senses. We close our eyes. We find a comfortable place to hang out, right? Maybe we listen to some music, put some headphones on, put on the brain tap. I'm telling you, if you can't do it yourself, there's the technology to hack it for you.
Yeah.
And the key thing is it starts to train your brain to where you can do it yourself. I don't, every bit of this technology is not to get you dependent on something, not like a drug getting you hooked on it, but it's to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And what happens is, once you get to where you want to be, you say, I want more. I want to go to the next level. I work with a lot of performance and athletes and things like that are moving the needle up into the Olympic status or better. And so it never runs out of gas. I'll put it that way. Brain tap will never run out of gas, right? Just as much as healthy eating will never run out of gas. You can't ever like get more healthy eating. You just go to the next level. So
Right, right. It's kind of like, going to a Joe Dispenza
yeah.
event, and then you don't want to leave, and you want to create more of that. And if you aren't able to get to a Joe Dispenza event, if it's out of reach for you, well, then read the books. Why not have a book club? Ken brought a group of people together that I'm actually honored to be a part of now. I get to zoom into these events, and they get together and they meditate together, and they talk about all the different teachings that are going on within the Joe Dispenza community. And they have their own little group where they do it. So he literally found a group of like-minded people right where he was and created that. And you can do the same.
Mm-hmm. It didn't exist when the first event that I went to with Dr. Joe, and I decided to change some things about my life. My business was going great. The my financial portfolio was great. Everything was great, except I wasn't expanding. I wasn't growing anymore. I kind of hit this plateau. And I just stood in my kitchen one day, put my hands in the air, and said, "Hey, I surrender. I surrender my beliefs, my perceptions, my ego mold me." And I was looking at the quantum field. I was looking at God. I was looking at source. Mold me. I feel like there's something more. And that was a Tuesday. And on Thursday, all hell broke loose. And that's how it works, guys. That's how it works. When you're serious about something that you want change in your life, and you convict that notion into form, when you say, "I'm committed to this," buckle up and put your helmet on, because it's going to get bumpy. And the reason it's going to get bumpy is because you're not willing to surrender what's got you where you are right now in a comfort zone. You won't do it in a comfort zone. It has to get bumpy. And so things changed. Within about 60 days, I wound up at my first event with Dr. Joe Dispenza. That was in Canada. I went to Canada, went to that event on my way back. I mean, it was about 4.5 hour drive there. It was over 8 hours for me to get back. I didn't fit any aspects of the me that left there.
Right.
When I went there, I was this person. When I came back, I was this person. And I'm like, how do I integrate back into what I knew what I was coming back into, and it didn't fit. So I had to build a community, folks. You've got to stand strong and firm. When you become a new version of you, when you've connected with a mentor or a coach and you get this aha moment, it rewires your entire nervous system. And you can't go back to business as usual. That's cheating yourself. That's being non-authentic. You've got to hold on to what you believe, no matter what changes must take place. And mostly it's people. Trust me, it's going to be people.
Mm-hmm.
In that same year, I divorced probably over 200 people in my life. I quit my business. I stopped the martial arts practice. I built a community that made sense to the new me. And that has not stopped. It's been full motion, full freight train for 12 years now.
Beautiful. It's beautiful to witness. It's beautiful to watch. Absolutely. So we've given you a lot of things to think about, a lot of ways that you can create a blue zone in your own home. And a lot of what we were talking about earlier had to do with the gut, and the gut impacting the hormones, and in essence impacting everything, right? So if you recall a few months back, it's hard for me to remember because it was before the move and that was such a crazy time, but Ken and I did the gut reset program, and a number of you participated. It was a 3-day program, and one of the main reasons we did it was because we wanted to create a community, right? A community of people doing it together. And we had an opportunity for them to all connect with one another, not just Ken and I, and discuss their experiences and what that was like. So why do I bring that up? Because I talked him into something again. Can you even believe it? Oh my God, is it okay if I tell them?
All right. Yeah, I was like, okay, wait a minute. We're gonna do another thing. I got another thing to put on my plate. I was like, I don't know if I want another thing on my plate, but here's yeah, go ahead. Tell them. Well,
Okay, so there's an entire 35-page workbook that's probably ultimately going to become a 50-page workbook because he wants more graphics in it. So anyway, the entire program is laid out. The menu plans are in there. All the mindfulness techniques and things are in there. There's even a shopping list in there. Trust me, it's loaded. And so we're going to be selling that for $49.99. So if you just want just the actual program itself and all the details on how to run it in your own home, you can do that. If you would prefer the workbook and the recordings, we are going to be making those available to you as well. And you can do that for $99.99 and you'll have access to it for life. It's kind of like the evergreen system. So
yeah, the cool thing about that is that, okay, so because as Lori said, there's a shopping list. There are menus for every meal and snacks for 3 days. there's a very specific supplementation model because at this point, most I would say, I mean, I know that statistics say 84% of Americans, I don't know about the world statistics, but there is a mutated absorption rate within the gut. Our gut biome, the bacteria, when threatened, they build this mucosa, this layer of protective shell, essentially. And so when you eat the food, it doesn't get digested properly as well as it should. And so you don't get the full bioavailability of this content. And as a result, then we're like we're tracking our nutrients, we're tracking our macros, we're tracking all this stuff, and we feel like I'm not really gaining much. Doesn't feel like I'm going anywhere. Well, that's why. And so there's particular supplements to help to shred and shed the layers of protective film, and then put you back into more absorption. So it is a bit of a cleansing process. And there's particular microbes that do that. And so we have a very specific list of what to do, when to do it, and why. Right. So you within this workbook, you get knowledge, you get science, you get training, mindful training. Again, we talk about some of the things right here tonight. Mindful eating, slow down, right? Some simple concepts, but it's all in the workbook. And like I said, like Lori said, there's a grocery list. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. But if you don't like to just learn through reading, right, that's where the videos come in. And we did 3 videos, a video every day of that 3-day gut reset based on what you're trying to accomplish in that day, what's going on, and then expand upon what's happening. And that was us talking about it. So that's available. It doesn't require a lot of extra work, but we are here to support you guys. If anyone does decide to do that, we're here every month. So of course, and the cool thing about this, what we recommend you get in terms of this very specific supplements isn't just for that one session, that one 3-day session. No, you get enough to do 10.
Yeah.
10. I mean, so they come in a month's supply of material, but you're only going to use a small amount. So you're able to do 10 more of those 3-day protocols, meaning that no matter where you are in the struggle with the gut, I recommend people, if you really are struggling with indigestion, irritable bowel, heartburn, some of these digestive issues, even autoimmune stuff is in that same category. So if you're really struggling, I recommend you do it twice in a month. If you're just mediocre, you do it once a month. You got almost a year's worth of, these protocols. And cool thing is, it starts to build a lifestyle for you, and you can start putting the system back together. One of the pieces I mentioned earlier about the genetic mutation of our gut and trying to work that bacteria back to its original form. So there's another layer to that reset. After you're done with the reset, we've got a way to through signaling through a very specific bacteria, and some of the signaling molecules, we can retrain the gut's genetic codes. So that's another story, but yet now we're able to do so much to benefit your life and your health, and it starts in the gut. And we want to make sure that, if you build a community, because you can't expect to do these gut resets or even get a mentor, and you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, doesn't matter. But if you're not willing to surrender what's not serving you, make room for what will, then you're not going to make much progress. Does that make sense? I mean, I tell every time I do an intake with a client at the healing center, I ask them this question: what are you willing to surrender to gain? Because it's not what you're getting, it's what you're getting rid of. Getting things out of the way builds way more room for something to come in and readjust you. One of my mentors is Bruce Lee. You guys might have heard that guy, right? That's because
Maybe.
of my martial arts background. And one of his most famous statements that stuck with me from way back is that the usefulness of the cup is its emptiness. So think about that for a second. It's not what you know now that's going to get you to the next level. It's what you haven't learned yet. You got to empty your cup. Make room for more information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's one more thing we want to share with them, because we talked a lot about the gut and we talked a lot about community. Now, there are some of you on this call who are going to remember the name Rick Fleshman. Well, Rick Fleshman is creating another community, and it's a community where there's going to be opportunities to get a healthier gut with a whole bunch of people doing it at the same time. Right, Ken?
Yeah. So he created what's called Cadence Life Science. Cadence Life Sciences is a community where it's an app-driven process. It's completely free to get in there. To get on the app, the whole thing is completely free. You get on there and it tracks your water, it tracks your activities, your movement. You can customize it if you do Tai Chi, if you do yoga. It tracks all of that and it gives you reminders. It even tracks your mentor, right? If you've got a coach or someone that you're working with, an accountability partner, it's got all of that in there so that you can strive towards success, towards whatever your goal is. You put the goal in there, but it also doesn't slap your hand when you miss a mark, right? It's all about you as the hero to move yourself from where you are closer to where you want to be and doing steps that really resonate with you and trackable steps. There also happens to be a cleanse protocol that you can get on board with and follow the community along that. And it has some products. So the way that whole system is paid for is by you getting the products. If you don't want to do those products, and again, they're pretty much as organic as you can get. And it is a meal plan, a way of improving your sleep through, some raw materials. That some of the raw materials the body already needs, amino acids, tart cherry, which is another great supplement for better sleep and mindful practices. And then a plant-based high nutrient smoothie, right? So now you've got the building blocks. So you do the gut reset, you do the building blocks, you get supported by the community, and you can join in there for free and just use it as a tracking system if you wish. And then anyway, so that's a pretty useful a useful community. And it's all about you as the hero. You as the hero. In
Absolutely.
fact, tomorrow there's a discovery call. If you guys are interested in jumping in tomorrow, you can come in and take a look. So Lori just put the link in there. It's cadencecalls.com. It's tomorrow. You see it 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Come in and listen. It'll be short, sweet, to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not as long-winded as we are. It's only going to be 30 minutes, you guys.
Yeah, very short, very short. And the cool thing about that, again, where are you going to get your support, right? If we are at a place in our lives where we want to be and we're done, perfect. I love you. You're awesome. If you're not, for whatever reason, come take a look, kick the tires, see what it's like.
Absolutely. So, anything else? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, if you guys got any questions,
Yes. I've been waiting for a pause. I do. I know there's a lot of information, good information that's been given. But I was wondering when you were talking about the bacteria that it's in the gut and wherever else, would the Healy help any of that at all?
So
Or is that a good place to start? I know there's a bacterial program on the Healy, and so I didn't know if that would make a difference or not.
Yeah, so great question, Nell, by the way. Healy does have programs for almost everything. And in fact, within the Power of Three, there's the Zapper protocol, which is amazing for bacteria and for those kind of things. But there's also one called Friendly Flora
Yeah,
in the Power of Three.
I have that.
And those are designed to bioenergetically support that bacteria. Now, Healy is an amazing tool, and the level of influence is based on how you're using it. So I highly recommend you use it with the wristbands and the microcurrent. I do. Why? Because now I'm giving you a higher level of influence to your biology. The coil is a different level. Don't just do one or the other. Do both. Do
Yeah,
both.
okay.
And with the high wave now, the high wave is another application model that now takes that same signal that's coming out of the Healy, the frequencies themselves, piggybacks it on a 5 megahertz signal, which that's actually 4.97, but close enough to 5, that transmits through your entire body. So the microcurrent, let's say we want to talk to the gut. All right. The microcurrent is going from arm to arm through the majority of the upper body. We want to get down to the torso, put the sticky pads on each side of your gut. And now run that Friendly Flora.
Oh,
Now run that Zapper program. Now you're sending it directly through line of sight right in the middle of your body where it should be. Okay.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
And one more question I had, I eat light on the meat side and chicken mainly and fish, but I like the Impossible. Have you had that, or what do you think about that? The plant-based meat. I like it, but I don't know if it's
Well, let me ask you a question. We live on God's green earth.
hmm
Was that grown somewhere on a tree, on a plant? I mean, anytime that we're messing with stuff. We're messing with stuff.
Yeah.
The body is a super secret DNA decoder ring. All it cares about is the DNA, right? And so when we cook something, when we pasteurize something, when we chemically infuse something, it changes genetic codes. And the body says, I don't know if I understand that. And if it doesn't understand anything, it's got to do one of two things: eliminate it or store it, right? We want it to do the former, but most of the time it does the latter. Most of the time it stores it. You know where it stores it? In our fat cells. Again, the fat cell is what accumulates the toxic burden, and you don't get more of them; they just get bigger. And so there's where mass comes in. And when you do a cleanse or a detox, now guess what? Now you're putting that back into the bloodstream, and the body has to get rid of it this time. So perfect. When you got that opportunity, now it's out of the fat cells, which is a really hard thing to do. But once it's out, you make sure you're well hydrated and you're moving, right? Let your lymphatic system do its work. It only works if you're moving. So I try to stay as whole foods as possible. And meats, there's nothing wrong with meat, folks. It's got nutrients in it. It's just that all meat, no matter what it is acidic. And when we're trying to balance pH in our body, we lean, we do the plant slant. We lean towards the plants a little bit more. Make it your primary portion of your course of your meal. Make plants your primary, and do the side dish as the meat, a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So anyway,
So
you just
so
did that.
it's not good then? Is that not good? That Impossible stuff? I
I'm
like possible.
I don't
Yeah,
consume it. I don't consume it, and I haven't studied it, so I can't give comment from an educated position.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
I always say if we're gonna go with something we're gonna eat, how was it created? What did God intend it to go that way? And I also look at things as what is the design of the thing. Like for instance, crustaceans,
Thanks, Tony.
shellfish. What's a shrimp do? Anybody know what a shrimp does in the ocean?
Cleans the floor.
It's
Yeah, they're
it's
scavengers, but there's some good tasting scavengers. That's
so we can say that and that's true. That could be true for us. And we can go ahead and consume that, and we're going to have a biological effect. If we're happy
Yeah.
with our biological effect, great. Don't change a thing.
no.
I never
Well-
ask anybody to do anything they're not happy with.
Yeah. I think you can overdo anything, really. But
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I just say that, again, there's a point in which we will have a biological effect over the years of doing something that doesn't support the biology. There will be
thank you, guys.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I see Lori put on, so tomorrow, by the way, guys, the Healy created a Healy Solutions series. This will be episode number 4 coming up tomorrow. And they asked me to speak around energy and vitality and the support and how Healy does that. So if you guys have the time, if you want to join that, there's the link. There's the QR code. You can save that picture and scan that and jump on board.
Is that going to be taped?
Yes, they're all recorded and they are put on the Healy America's YouTube page.
Oh, good, because my bilocation skills are slim.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about all these calls now, that they're recorded. They're even hyperlinked so that the categories of information are segregated, so you can click on just one component. I mean, super cool. Healy has come a long ways in the support world, I'm telling you.
100%.
So that's going to be 4:30 Pacific time then?
Yeah.
It is 4:30 Pacific. Yep. 7 Eastern.
Yep.
Thank you.
If you click on that picture right there, it will, because that's a link, it will put that right on your computer if you're on your computer or PC. Actually, I think you can even save it to your smartphone if you're on your smartphone. Click on the picture, it'll put it onto your computer and you can save it. So, and if you want to save any of the content that's in the chat, by the way, you guys, up there where it says Monday Night Magic in the chat, there's 3 little dots. If you click on those 3 little dots, there'll be a drop-down menu that says Save Chat. At the end of the call, you'll get a prompt on your screen where you can take that file and save it. It'll have all the links and content that Lori's been putting in there. So, super useful, yeah?
100%. Well, we covered a lot of ground tonight.
Whew. Well, we went a little overboard. Sorry, folks. Sometimes, I've been told that, Lori might be the footnotes, but I'm the documentary, right? I might get a little deep.
Yeah. I have to reel you back in every now and again. Every now and again. Yes. So we just want to invite all of you to join us again on September 8th for our September edition of Monday Night Magic. And we will come up with something marvelous to share with you then. You never know. We just get inspired and it goes from there. So,
and you guys can add, send, you get the emails, right? You can give feedback. What is it that's in your life that you really feel like, you want to make a change, but you've been wanting to for 5 years, right? So let's talk about that. Bring it to the table and we will build an epigenetic model of exactly how to get there, a blueprint that is based on your genetics, the genetic structures of human beings, how we move the needle on success. There's a way to do it, I promise you. So
absolutely. We're here for you guys. We're here to serve you. So let us know how we can best do that.
there you go. All right, guys. Well, hey, Lori's
Thank
put
you.
things on the table. Join in, support yourself, support us. Let's get you to be a better you.
Hey, one more thing before we go, Ken. What was that you were talking about? The headphones and the eye mask, and what is that? What was that? Is that available? What is
It's
that?
brain tap. Brain
It's
tap.
It's called Brain Tap. And so I can, Lori's got, I can give you a link and you can go and take a look at Brain Tap right now. By the way, there's a back to school special on it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. It's never ever been this price before. It's a back to school special. Why? Because it's got such significant influence on children. It has any brain, but some brains are more malleable than others. I'm not going to say what happens as we start to get stuck in a rut, but it's super valuable towards the children. So
what's the special price? Get them excited. I didn't even know there was one yet.
oh yeah, well there is a it's $200 off on the
Wow.
headset. $200 off of the bundle headset and a year subscription.
What?
Or if you just want to do there's a subscription, by the way, it's app driven, over 3,000 programs. And that app is typically $29.99 a month, but right now it's $10 a month. So $140 off for a whole year. So it's $120 for a whole year of that subscription. It's never been that price. $200 off the headset. I'm just saying, it's pretty incredible. And I can get you a link if you want it. We can.
You better get me the link so I can put it in the newsletter. You guys better check out that email. I'm going to get it out as fast as I can.
It's
Okay.
only available until the 14th of August, that deal.
Holy crap. I need the link tonight. I got to get this out
No,
tomorrow.
I'll get it to you, I promise. All right, you guys. Love y'all.
Thanks.
Love you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.